Hi there, everybody. Here we are live on Facebook, and I am totally stoked. I've got one of my dear friends in the world here, Arno Burnier, joining us. And so I want to pick his brain, and I'm sure you guys want to seize the opportunity as well to write some comments and to really soak up as much as you can from a leader in the chiropractic profession and somebody who is absolutely committed to the principles of chiropractic. And his philosophy, what I appreciate so much about Arno's philosophy, is it's a tangible philosophy. It's a real life living principle, and that comes by him living and breathing it. And you're going to get a taste of that here today. So before we go any further, welcome Arno.
No, thank you for having me on the show. This is awesome.
Yeah, excellent. So, we could start in lots of different places. And I think where I'd like to start with is the concept of vitalism. I know that's something that's really near and dear to your heart. For some people, that's a new concept. Could you share with us what vitalism is?
Yes, pretty much, vitalism, the essence of vitalism is a knowledge and a knowing that all things are created from the immaterial. If you think about it, for example, someone that wants to do a painting, they first have an idea which comes from the immaterial, and then they are excited about it, and then they manifest it into reality. If you look at the automobile, for example, it was an intangible, invisible concept that then manifested into the reality of a car. So the essence of vitalism basically is that all living things stem from the immaterial, from the invisible, from the intangible. And then from that matrix, the invisible matrix, are manifested into a tangible, physical, material reality. So that's one of the understanding of vitalism. The other thing is to recognize that, especially when it comes to human beings and to living things and to animals and to plants, that the whole is greater than the sum of its parts.
Right.
And that is a very important understanding, because we are more than the sum of our parts or skin or organs or tissues or systems. There is more to it. And what is more to it is the intangible, invisible life force, which is a spirit within that powers life, basically, that powers a human body. So there is within all human beings a human electricity, which is invisible and intangible, but this is what materializes and actualizes a living being. And I think it's very clear that when a person passed away, which is interesting, we say passed away, which means something has passed away, have left the body. The body is the same. We still have all of our parts, our organs, our tissues. We weight the same, we look the same. Sometimes the body is still warm, but the intangible, invisible energy that powers us has left us. Mm-hmm. And that, in essence, is very much what vitalism is about, the knowledge and the recognition of the primary importance of that life force, that essence, that vitality, that chi, that powers a human being. The other part that I would like to address there is that in vitalism, there is a recognition of a hierarchy of order. That we are spiritual being because of universal. And we are also electrical being because of the spiritual. And that we are mechanical being because of the electrical. And finally, that we are chemical being because of the mechanical. So indeed, and you probably have heard Reggie Gold years ago, one of the big philosophers in our profession, talking about the chemistry of life. And that everything is run by chemistry. When our chemistry change, or physiology change. However, the primary order in creation always comes from universal, then the spiritual, the electrical, the mechanical, and finally the chemical is the result of all of this. So when there is a disconnect in our being, actually it stems from a disconnection from source. because of
Okay.
the hierarchy of order.
Right. So go to, yes, to the source of the problem.
Exactly. And sure, you can tweak the chemical and have an effect. Absolutely. And this is what pharmacology is doing, tweaking
Yeah.
the chemical and have an effect. But ultimately, the source of the imbalance, the malfunction, the dis-ease in a system, in a body, is actually stemming from a disconnection from source.
So now that was pretty heavy chiropractic philosophy that you just dropped there. Thank you. I think it was fascinating. It's something that I'm going to rewatch more than once. Now, for the general public who are out there watching us, how do we apply that to our day-to-day livings into like real life?
Well, one thing is obviously to be conscious that there is a source within, that there is something to tap into internally, an essence, the innate wisdom within, the spirit within. So that's one thing, to be first aware of it. The second thing is to be able to tap into it. And in my view, the best way to tap into it is obviously, one is through meditation, two is through disconnecting from the media, from the external, from the brainwashing. Three, to spend time in silence in nature is a great way to reconnect. And certainly fourth, as you know, chiropractic is a great means to reconnect with self because it addresses the neurospinal system and clears the neurospinal system, which is the very system through which life force travel and express itself. So when we clear the neurospinal system, there is, knowingly or unknowingly from that person, in a conscious or unconscious manner, there is still a reconnection to self.
Excellent. So they're all great vehicles to connect with source, with our inner essence. And so inner essence, we were speaking innate, and then universal is the collective intelligence. So innate, a lot of the questions that we get from our people that are listening is innate. How do I know if I'm listening to innate or ego?
Very simply, once you listen to the message of innate, your life will come into flow, into ease, into synchronicity, actually hypersynchronicity. You will have experience of serendipity and grace. Whereas when you listen to your ego, as a rule, there will be struggle, challenges, you will hit walls, you will be thrown to the mat. That's very much the difference and the distinction between a life which is innate driven and a life which is ego driven.
Beautiful.
And that doesn't mean, I don't want to misconstrue there. People can have an ego-driven life and accomplish a lot. It's a matter of fact, probably people that have an ego-driven life may have accomplished more on a material level. But an innate-driven life is a flowing life. You flow with the river of your life, with the river of your soul. You are attuned to yourself and through the message of life, which brought me to think about something that, as a rule, innate speaks in three. You will have a repetition of three messages when innate speaks. And to give you, an example, it may be that you are hearing suddenly, pay attention, and then you open a book and the first word that stems out is attention.
Right.
And, then you may click on a song and the first word that come out is attention. When we are aware, there is a repetition usually of three synchronistic messages within a fairly short period of time that repeats itself. And that's one of the clues.
Okay, excellent. That's great. And so people who are tuning in here, absolutely leave your comments in the comment section, and we're going to take some time at the end to address those, Arno and I. And we have one comment so far that somebody said, hey, this is too deep for me. And this is somebody who's been listening to us for a while. And I wanted to just pause on that because I do think that we went really kind of big picture, but we are bringing it down into the very practical now. And I hope our listeners start to, or really tune into this and recognize, because there's wisdom here. There's a man who's taken a really evolved philosophy of chiropractic, studied it deeply, and then brought it into everyday living and has lived it here for a number of years now. And so I want to glean the opportunity to really tune into this. I've had an experience with you, Arno, where we were setting up for the Masterpiece Training Camp seminar in St. Catharines. So we had about 3 or 4 days of prep leading into that seminar. And then we had 5 days together in the seminar, and I had a day or two with you afterwards. I was about close to a week, 2 weeks with you. And I can say, looking back at that, I remember about 4 of those days, maybe 5 of those days in the flow, where you and I, we hit green lights. We would show up at Conrad's house just as Henny was showing up to offer us what we needed. We had the phone call at the perfect time. I mean, we were dialed into a universal flow. And that was, you know, it was like all the parts were moving together with us. The people, the green lights, I think this is all part of universal source energy that we were starting to tap into. And so this is a real practical philosophy. In your own life, how have you, yeah, go ahead.
And when you mention this, I think when I look back, the ingredients that brought all this together were many. One, we were all tuned in to a higher purpose. We were all willing to serve. It was not about us. It was about serving the whole, serving the greater purpose. We had set up a very clean framework and structure so that we can be completely free within that structure. And as you mentioned, during those 5 days, which down the line became a 6-day seminar, really, it was happening through us, not from us. Mm-hmm. And that's also a great indication when you know you are in tune with Innate. When you feel that you are being used as an instrument, and life and whatever you have to bring forth into life is happening through you, not from you.
Right.
And that's a very big distinction, I think.
Mm-hmm. And so that links back to our purpose.
Yes. Yeah, I believe that, you know, when you live and you have a vision and a mission and a higher purpose, it's pretty much guarantees that over time you will move into living from innate and accessing the flow of life.
Beautiful. Okay, excellent. And so when I was doing some research in chiropractic, and then I looked at it again when I was preparing the Mind the Guru program, and I knew one of the foundational principles I wanted to have was vitalism. I knew I wanted to be based in this idea that we are whole beings, that there is an inherent intelligence within us, and that as we claim our authorship of You still there, Arno?
Yeah, I don't know what happened. It froze, so I completely missed.
That's okay. We'll come back. How much controversy is around the concept of vitalism?
Right now?
Yeah.
There is a huge controversy because once you understand and embrace and know the reality of vitalism and the reality of an inborn intelligence within all human beings, that is all-knowing, that is all-powerful, that is omniscient, omnipresent, and omnipotent, it really shifts the way that people are going to live. It shifts the paradigm, and it also shifts how we live in this culture. And the controversy is the fact that there is an economic reality that is being threatened. To keep telling people that it all comes from outside in, allows for a huge industry to blossom. But when it's from within, having to tap within and to do things for ourselves that allow us to access the power within, to empower people to become their own leaders. There is not much financial incentive to drive an industry into this. So I think we're facing right now a controversy that is mostly due and driven by economical necessity and reason and factors, rather than looking at, can you imagine every human being being empowered to be in touch with their own power, to be in touch with the authority of their own beings, how life would be on Earth?
Amazing.
So it's a transformation. And obviously, as you know, not every human being on the planet will necessarily get there, but as a higher number of people get there, we have a different civilization and a different culture.
Yeah, it's a fascinating thing to watch, and lots of echo. What's that? Fascinating for me to watch, both within research and also with the clients that I work with. Some clients are really quick to get on board with this, and other clients are a little resistant as well. And perhaps you can speak to some of the fears that might be associated for people as they first hear the concept of vitalism and the idea that they do have a power and potential within themselves to not only heal, but also to follow and listen and to run and regulate their lives as well.
Absolutely. Well, the first thing I think we all have to realize is that nearly all of us that live in North America or in Europe were born, raised, socialized, educated, indoctrinated, and actually brainwashed in an outside-in model of life. That everything was from the outside in, especially when it comes to health and healing and well-being and sickness and disease. The medical, mechanistic model of life is all outside in. It disempowered people. It's a matter of fact, you were asked very early on to give up your power to somebody bigger than you, the doctor. That is the all-knowing. People that grew up in the 50s and 60s saw that doctors were virtually gods. The doctor said, that's it. That was the last word. The doctor says so. But that's not the reality. So first we have to disconnect from that. We have to release ourselves from that belief system, from that indoctrination, and then start to move into trusting our own being. Now watch this from a practical standpoint. You look at a child that is hurting. They go, oh, mommy, my head hurts. They put their hand on their head. Rather than telling the child, great, lay down and keep your hand on your head, because that was your instinctive ways of bringing soothing, loving, healing energy to your head. We say, oh, take this pill.
Yeah.
My tummy hurts. Guaranteed the child will have, my tooth hurt. They'll be like this. So from this very simple early recognition that a child intuitively and instinctively will start to do the laying of the hands to soothe and heal themselves, we disconnect them right away by telling them, take this pill. So that's the early indoctrination, and then it goes on and on and on. So to reverse this, what I've learned about myself through experience and also with other people through witnessing is that when something is happening in my body, rather than going, oh, something is wrong, I go, interesting. Let's watch what happened. And I start to virtually, quote, dissociate myself or disengage myself from the aches, from the pain, from the symptomatology, and I become a silent observer as to what my body is doing. And over the years, I have learned so much of the intelligence and the normalcy of various symptoms and how they will progress in a cycle. And there will be a moment where it peaks, a moment where everybody goes, no, this is too much. I got to go to the hospital. I got to get help. But if they wait 24, 48 hours, 72 hours, it goes back to the other side of the cycle, and then the healing is complete. So what I've learned over the years is under many circumstances, from the healing from injuries to the healing from different physiological changes in my being, I've learned to observe it. And I've watched the amazing innate wisdom and intelligence that the body has to rebalance itself and restore itself back to par. So that's another great tool, is to become a silent observer of whatever you are experiencing and to be very attentive. When I had a cold, I first had the sniffle, then from clear liquid, it become more yellowish and a little bit more dense, and then it become mucousy, and then it become green mucus, then there is blood, then it goes back to yellow, then it goes back to clear, and the cycle is complete.
Right, yeah, fascinating. The rhythms that we go through. Now, I've seen in my own life a couple of amazing examples. One was a tooth that got infected last summer, and I wrote it out, and I certainly hit my edge where I felt like I couldn't go anywhere more. My mind was like it was so intense. And I hung with it an extra 15 minutes, and it subsided.
Yeah.
And it's fascinating. Then also with my mom, when she went through, she healed herself naturally of stage 4 ovarian cancer. And what we saw with her was this crescendo of stuff energy coming to the surface, and then she was able to ride it out, and it cleared out on the other side. In both of those experiences, I felt that there was an eroding or a shifting in my and my mom's ego, and there was a significant core healing that happens as well. Can you speak to the correlation between physical healing and mental and emotional healing?
Okay, so here, first of all, in going back to your mom and to your own experience with your teeth and anyone that has experienced healing within themselves, I think we have to recognize that the mental part and the emotional part are involved. Once we start to mind our symptom, to mind of pain, now we're feeding it. So, you may have heard the expression, there is the distinction between, suffering and pain and suffering or something like this. That suffering is optional. And it's when we mind our problem, when we mind our pain, that we suffer. But when we watch it and disengage the mind and become an observer, then the mind no longer feeds it. So that's a very big part. Now, obviously, the mental, emotional healing is also part of what it is to heal. And, one of the things I always said, healing is always possible. It doesn't matter. You may say, I don't have a single ache and pain. I don't have any physical pain. It doesn't mean that healing is not necessary at a deeper level, at a mental, emotional level. Because the reality of life is that nearly all of us, if not absolutely all of us, were somewhat bruised, damaged, hurt throughout childhood. And then we have to basically do that journey of healing all those hurts and all sometimes the guarding, the armoring, the defense, the walls that we have built around ourselves to protect our sensitivity and our own ways that we are as a child. A child is so open and so sensitive, so that when we encounter those bruises in childhood, we close down. And as a human being, our role in our life is to, over time, learn to open up again and become a completely open vessel. It doesn't mean that you're careless with an open heart, but it means that, you are available to receive and to hear and to feel. So mental, emotional healing is absolutely essential.
Well spoken, well spoken. Okay, well, we're open to any questions. If people are tuning in, that would be a good time to ask Arno a question, pick his brain and his heart, tune into this being of knowledge here. If you got any questions, that would be great. Arno, is there anything you want to finish off with before we pull things together?
You had asked me before the interview, what is one of my favorite quotes from B.J. Palmer?
Perfect. Let's finish with that. That would be a great one.
What I want to state is this. He had a quote that said, many have the vision, have the eyesight of a hawk and the vision of a clam. And where there is no vision, people perish. And I think it is essential to recognize that we can live with a vision And to me, a vision is always something that will better the quality of human life. And my own personal vision is to elevate human consciousness in matter of life, health, healing, wellness, and well-being. That is my personal vision. Other people have a different vision. Martin Luther King had a different vision. Equality, human rights, equal rights. So I think it's very important to live with a vision. And a vision as a whole is not, oh, I want to have a bigger house. I want to have 5 Mercedes-Benz in my garage. It's a vision of how can I contribute to elevate humanity, to serve humanity, to bring it to a higher level.
Excellent.
If you can do that, life becomes joyful.
That's it. Well, we did receive a question here. I'm just going to bring it up, and that's Leah. And Leah asks, when you're in deep pain and trauma, how does one start the process of self-healing, i.e. Feeling so lost? What is your first step? And I think you've touched on
that. Is complete surrender. It doesn't mean giving up. It is surrendering. It's an act of volition. It's an act of surrendering to the greater wisdom of life. It is an act of trusting that there is an innate wisdom that is greater and bigger than any human mind will ever be. That is the source of everything that is happening within our own being, and also to surrender to the fact that the symptoms are nearly in all situations a very normal, intelligent response that the body is making to itself in order to generate and engender the process of healing. So I think that is the very first part. The second part is to learn to seek help, but not necessarily help that is outside in, a help that will facilitate you to reconnect with yourself. So in my view, that is the best way to, and I don't know if that person asked strictly about physical trauma or mental emotional trauma. In mental emotional trauma, in the act of surrendering, it is accepting what is. People suffer because a lover left them. People suffer because a partner or husband cheated on them. But when we accept what is, it is what it is. There is no fighting with reality. I can surrender to that. I can accept it. How can I grow out of it? How can I grow from it?
Lots of great pieces here, people. Awesome. And I think you really pulled it together full circle there, Arno, starting with surrendering, right? Oh, we just clicked out. We're back again. All right. Yeah. That's it. Surrendering, trusting the process, trusting our body, and being this observer, witnessing what is going on and staying out of the mind. Well done. Lots of great.
I want to add something to this, because I think most people, unbeknownst to them, trust themselves at a very high level. For example, they cut themselves with a knife. They go, oh, I got a cut. They don't even question that it's going to heal. They sprain a muscle or sprain a tendon or a ligament. They know, oh, okay, it's painful. They don't even question it's going to heal. They break a bone. Yes, somebody may have to put it in a cast, but they don't question that you're going to heal. But as soon as it's internal, it has to do with an internal organ, suddenly, oh, no, it's not going to heal. I need somebody else to help me. Instead of saying it's no different, because the healing process of a cut, of a torn ligament, of a sprained muscle, of a broken bone is the same as a healing process from the problem with the liver or the kidneys or the bladder, of the heart. It's no different. Now, that doesn't mean that sometimes we don't have to change our lifestyle.
Right.
Because frequently the symptoms are a message of life to tell us, you are abusing me. You must change the way you live, or I'm going to keep giving you pain. So basically, again, surrendering and listening. What do I need to change? So what I wanted to bring there is that people pretty much usually know and trust inherently the power of the body to heal, but only to a certain place, and then suddenly they disconnect with it.
Yeah, no kidding. Awesome. Excellent. All right. Well, you certainly inspired me today, and I appreciate every opportunity that we have to reconnect. You've been a guiding light in my life, and certainly somebody who's modeled the principles of chiropractic. And you're a warrior and innately driven for sure. I appreciate everything that you've offered to our planet and to our profession. Now, if people are wanting to connect with you, what would be their best way, Arno?
Facebook. I'm on Facebook, Arno Burnier, DC. I have two Facebook pages. One has already 5,000 friends, so I can't accept anymore, but I have a public figure page also. And then for people within the profession, mlsseminars.com, cafeoflife.com are two of the websites that we have where people within the profession or the public can tap into connecting with me. And if people really want to connect on a much more personal level, they can send me Facebook messages or email me at Arno, ARNO, at FONE.net. So it's Arno at phone.net, but phone is spelled with an F.
Got it. Excellent. All right. So there's some opportunities to connect with Arno. And as we tie things up, Arno, the innate in me blesses the innate in you. Be well.
Thank you so much, Norm. All my love to you. Thank you.
Excellent. Okay.